Troublemaker.
And we have.
Said that, should
Huh?
you should have said that.
Yeah. That's okay, she just won't ask me to pray next Thursday. Are we ready? All right, welcome to the, call meeting in order of the Finance Committee, Monday, December 16th, 2024. And, would anybody else like to pray? Open us up.
Do that.
I would appreciate that, Mr. Crick. Thank you.
And probably thank you for this group of people gathered here tonight. We ask that you would give us the knowledge to continue the work of our county in a manner that is pleasing to you as well. We ask that you would bless each member here. Thank you for each one of them in Jesus' name.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda for tonight. Got a motion by Mr. Diddens, here a second by Mr. Brandt, all right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I think he meant to.
That was I person, I was slow. I was trying to read something at the same time.
Approval of the meeting minutes from November 8th, 2024 meeting. Motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Baker. Got a second by Mr. Diddens. Any comments, thoughts? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now, Mr. Diddens, I'm gonna need those back,
Yeah.
at least I need the.
I was just kind of looking at the totals. Looks like a lot of money to me. But I'm not surprised. Yep, that's.
So we'll take these in order, starting with finance. We have cash requirements of $341,193.11. Manuals of $1,720,084.37 for a total of $2,061,277.48. What is the committee's pleasure with these?
Question.
Yes, sir.
In these claims that we're approving, are we already approving the health department claims and the planning and development claims?
I think those totals will be separate.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Okay,
read those.
thank you. Just want to make sure.
Yes, sir.
So it would seem like we should be doing
Oh,
the other way around.
Well, but they're not incorporated in these claims, so they are separate entities. These just did not get approved at those committees, so they're rolled up. So again, I have a total of $2,061,277.48 at finance to approve. Do I have a motion to approve those?
Make a motion to approve.
Second. And I got a second on Mr. Jovers. Any other thoughts, questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So we have, the planning and development. These are always ridiculous, Steve, I tell you, man. $1,691.36. May I have a motion from the chair to approve those? Set motion and second, and all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And we have the health department in front of us. They were not able to meet. Their finance committee was not. So, we have cash requirements of $107,075.60, manuals of $4,023.47, a total of $111,099.07. May I have a motion to approve those?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Baker, second by Mr. Didden. Any other discussion, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Public comment?
That's me. Yes.
Usual process, state your name, please, even though you're on the board now. For the record.
Yes, I'm Lynette Williams, County Board District E. Just wanted to basically make a statement to the board, thinking that this is probably the most appropriate place to. I just wanted to talk a little bit about, some stuff that's been going on through the course of this weekend that I've heard about. When I started my political journey in 2022, I started watching the committee meetings, the nursing center, the full county board meetings. And when I was doing my campaigning and talking to people, I knocked on at least 1,500 doors and spoke to a lot of people. And one of my biggest campaign issues was the fact that I wanted the Stephenson County Nursing Home, aka Walnut Acres, to remain in place. During the course of this last few days, between the meeting that was held last Thursday for the nursing center, and then again for, through the weekend, I have heard that TCM wants to, has basically delivered an ultimatum that they want to be paid. They're $350,000, which just seems exorbitant to me, but apparently they have not been paid at all. That's what I'm understanding. There are people within the community who think that TCM is like the end all. That they basically came in here, they saved, the nursing center, and that they should be paid, and everything that they're doing is correct. There's also those of us who, I haven't done enough research on it to really find out what's been going on, but I'm in the process of doing that. Here's my concern. If we don't pay TCM something, and they do leave, let's say in January, we're going to run into this situation where this RFP that you're going to talk about tonight, and to go out for new billing services, there's not going to be any overlap. And that concerns me, because this is where we got into the trouble with the nursing center the last time, was the fact that the billing was either not being done or it wasn't being done properly. So I have a large concern about maybe us thinking that we can get by without them, and maybe we need to do some kind of an overlap, of their services, if we can find a better company, maybe to do the billing. The other thing is that I'd like to see Marcos Perez come on board as a county employee. I think that would save us some agency fees. So I'd like the committee to think about that. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Reports of committee, Carrie's not here this month. I will ask her to attend next month's meeting, even going basically on a quarterly basis. You guys have anything on the insurance side you want to bring up? All renewals, everything seems to.
I was gonna say, she was working with the office pretty closely over open enrollment. We've got a few questions out to one of our carriers right now with a union negotiation question. Waiting on the answer on that, but we communicate with her multiple times a week. So.
Any other comments? No, good, okay. Madam Administrator, you have the floor.
All right, as I informed everyone, admin, our city county meeting this week was canceled the morning thereof. There was a family emergency with the mayor's family. So I know Chairman Helms has been in contact with her, and they've discussed a couple of the things that are ongoing with the county, as I've been in conversations with Mr. Boyer as well. So communication and things are still happening. The meeting doesn't. The office completed the UCCI fringe benefit and salary survey on December 6th. All of the information was sent in. So usually, I think it's usually March when we get those bound reports. And for anyone who doesn't know what that is or has any questions, I've got the last few years up in the office if anyone would like to come in and look at it. But they're pretty handy tools. We've begun the IMRF annual reporting. We're waiting on some of the things because salary changes that will take effect January 1st haven't been put into our accounting system yet. So we can't do that completely until that portion is over. Enrollment, open enrollment did go pretty smoothly. Ran was on top of that every morning, sending a list to every department head of which employees were, completed, which ones hadn't started, and which ones were still showing in progress so that they could keep on top of it and make sure everyone did log in. We had a number of people show up to the office where Reagan sat down with them and worked with them on the computer to get them enrolled if they didn't have access or had questions. It was supposed to be cut off at noon on the 9th, and I think our last person was done at 1:43, so pretty close. As I mentioned, we did start negotiations with UAW for the highway contracts. The next meeting is set for this coming Thursday. The first meeting is usually just a pretty informal 45-minute to an hour meeting. It ended up being about a 2.5-hour marathon meeting. So we'll see how it goes on Thursday. We did get 2 responses for the RFP for the farmland at Mill Race. And although we couldn't take action at Monday's meeting, both bids will be in the county board packet. And there was a consensus talked about Monday night. Department head meeting, Greater Freeport Partnership came and spoke. There was a couple department heads that thought it would be a good idea. Some of them didn't really know what services they offered the county or to the community. So they came and did a little presentation, passed out their event calendars for the department heads, because we had a department head say that he uses it kind of as a recruiting tool, talking about different events and things to promote some employee retention possibilities. So good feedback on that so far. They did follow up and reached out to 2 of the department heads, the coroner and animal control, and are going to do some follow up about possible grants for those 2 departments. So those meetings are taking place mid-January. We also talked about the intranet, now that things have kind of, I'm not going to say calm down for Nate, but at least we got the new tablets up and running, got all the changes done on the county board website for the changes. We will be working on that come the first of the year and get that hopefully out in January. And we have the draft, it's up, it's just not functioning yet. We also discussed the agendas and how we did the trial run this month and how those will be going in January. The department heads kind of liked the idea of it. They thought it would be very handy for them. And I know a lot of them have said that even if it's not a committee they report to, they may go back and watch the meeting and don't know what something is. So they won't be calling me to find out. They can, or at least they'll have the documentation and then can call and ask questions.
That's a good way to do it.
I have my next Greater Freeport Partnership Board meeting on Wednesday morning. There was a ribbon cutting at Highland for the new CNC lab.
That was on the news.
Did you see Mr. Jokerst on the
That was really good.
news? There's a lot of manufacturers. I think it'll be a good partnership, and the expansion in that seems to be a workforce gap problem that they're hoping to address.
There's a lot of that in here. I go to a lot of places that have CNC machines. Oh, yeah.
It's impressive for someone who doesn't know about it. It's neat to see.
Yep. Pretty awesome. Good job.
But it was neat to see the different businesses and manufacturers in the area there that talked about apprenticeships or sending employees through that. So hopefully that's a good thing for that business sector as well. So that's all I have.
Okay. Any questions for? Seeing none, we will keep moving. Madam Finance Director.
A couple of handouts that I'm going to discuss. First, I will provide an audit update. We did have an audit planning meeting this past week to determine the upcoming schedule for the 2024 audit. The 2023 audit had a lot of obstacles because of the nursing center claims and their inability to pay invoices in a timely manner. So the situation was constantly evolving, and the auditors were basically trying to draw a line in the sand. So it was quite the mess, and that was what caused the delay. So we believe we have a better system this year, and we decided to push back the start date to try to capture as many of those 2024 invoices as we could that are still being paid into the next fiscal year. So as it stands, thank you. The audit will be presented to the county board in July, so fingers crossed. I think we're going to start preliminary on-site visits the beginning of February, and the SureLink portal is up and running, so here we go.
Is there a second page? This is one of two.
I'm sorry, no.
Hey, real quick on that note, if you guys haven't had a chance to look at the sickage, I know there's a lot of information in those things, but one of the points that they made was specific to the claims in the nursing center, and that we needed to have a cutoff point and a line in the sand per se. And that did cause a lot of issues for those guys last year because this stuff wasn't buttoned up the way it should be. Hopefully, if we do move to going forward, we can address that as part of that process, because there's no reason that it shouldn't be, in my opinion.
I did want to talk about this resolution. It's gonna go in front of the county board. This is a budget amendment, that will move dollars within the general fund. This all started because of the repayment plan to Ingrown Farms. So Millrace Crossing was a little short in terms of their, Greater Freeport Partnership Agreement contributions. So that was covered by the general fund. We decided to adjust that line and take it out of contingencies. So that's just kind of a bookkeeping, kind of cleanup at the end of the year type of transaction. So no money is moving.
That's going straight to the board.
Yes,
That's an FYI.
yes. Then I also did want to mention a discussion in terms of German Valley and the dollars allocated to their water and sewer project in the ARPA budget. So they did not provide invoices by the November 30th deadline. Our first thought was that we would have to reopen the 2025 budget to reallocate those funds. But we spoke to the state's attorney and he advised us that budget law allows us to spend the additional dollars in the highway road project line that's already in the ARPA budget. So I think a portion of the Cedarville Road project the invoices were not available. And so we moved 500,000 into 2025. So we do have an expense line there. So basically the plan is to simply underspend the German Valley Water and Sewer project line and overspend the highway road projects. So
Everybody get that?
there's no need to reopen the budget. So
So
we
that-
believe that like a documented discussion and consensus will provide enough backup for the ARPA reporting. And up to this point, the reporting to the US Treasury has not been particularly detailed. So I think that the backup of the minutes of this meeting would be sufficient and the board meeting. Does anyone have any questions about
Any
that?
thoughts, questions, comments?
Doing,
Do we have a
Did I get it
consensus
right?
that that would be okay? I mean, if, we didn't spend it here, we gotta spend it somewhere, and I think we all would agree that roads is a good place to put it.
Yeah,
Just kind of as a side note too, the highway department for road projects is the only supplemental that was not fulfilled through the budget process.
Yeah.
So that was the only department that asked for extra funds that were available but did not receive. So
So I see everybody shaking their head. I believe we have consensus to move that forward. Unless I can hear others.
as long as they're going to the county roads.
Yeah. Now you'll have to take up the deal.
Well,
I don't think he's gonna build any roads in my city.
I don't need any more big checks going to the city.
No intergovernmental agreements for any other tax.
Thank you.
Okay, you have.
That's all I have. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. All right, any questions? Hearing none, we will keep moving then. Treasurer's report, Seven couldn't be here tonight, so we sent one out to everybody. Hopefully everybody got that. I will just read some of the items on here. She said the link to the November 2024 monthly report was emailed to the board at 12/4. Total county funds as of November we're down slightly over October by $749,408.37. 13 investments returned during November, showing on page 3 of her report. And so you guys can check that out. On the property tax side, so the final distribution of property tax dollars was November 26th. A small interest distribution was made on that date as well. So 1.876 million was distributed across the taxing districts County distribution sold $214,068.86. And so you can look at the breakdown she sent along with that. So I will leave that as that. And if you have any questions, certainly send her an email or give a call. So moving on, we have no old business, new business, approval of the RFP for billing services for the nursing center. Madam Administrator.
I will start off. Cool. Excuse me, turn it over to Marcos for questions.
Well, let's start with this. Let's go, for those of you who aren't aware, TCM has invoked a clause in their contract which allows them to, cancel their participation in the agreement. They're claiming that it's due to the fact that we are not paying them in a timely manner. So, we are going to go out and look, again, TCM would be included in that if they so want to participate in the RFP. They are certainly welcome to if they'd like to. That is open to anybody and everybody. But I, for one, well, I'm ready to move on from them myself because I don't think they've done the best amicable job that we can find. But I would entertain a motion initially to go out for an RFP with a second, and then we will have the discussion. So would anybody like to make that motion, Madam Baker?
I'll make, or if
Go ahead.
Nicole was with the chairman of the nursing home committee.
Well, I was just thinking it, but,
I'll make a motion to approve.
okay. So, and we have a motion and a second. Marcos, would you fill us in on how you see this playing out, I guess, from your perspective?
Well, obviously, I can't speak to the whole history between the county and the management company, having come on board in the midst of that.
I'd be happy to do that.
But I mean, as I understand it at this point, and as I see it for myself, in Fulton County, where I was previously, there was no management company, to say that. That's a 50-bed skilled nursing facility. So they look, in fact, that building looks just like ours does here in Stephenson County, just a quarter or a third of the size. They do not have a management company. They do their billing and collections in-house. In fact, I just took the liberty of reaching out to the old business office manager at that facility just to kind of verify how they were operating it, because that kind of was looking towards the possibility last year of a management company and so on and so forth. But at this point, and it's been obviously sometime since I've been there, but they don't operate with a management company, and they don't operate, or they operate in, processing everything internally, even in billing and collections. As I discussed with my committee chair and with the county administrator, as to, if things were to go in a certain direction with regards to the services provided by a management company, let alone the biggest service that would be provided by any management company, which would be assistance with processing of billing and collections. The option to go out for RFP for that particular service is something I think that we should do, at least for that. That is honestly the biggest function I feel that we would need to pursue at this point. Everything else, I think the facility could rely on me for, and also as I did at the Clayburgh, or as I did in Fulton County, private consultants. For example, the facility is already served by a private consultant as far as like registered dietitian. That's a private individual providing those services to the facility. So everything else can be provided by, if necessary, by individual professional consultants providing their services, and then a firm potentially to provide billing and collection service. However, I will say, actually, even just to address the public comment that was made, again, not knowing which direction things would go in this case, as I always said, I don't make those decisions. I had already planned on taking matters into my own hands and attempting to set up the business office manager at our facility in the same way that my old BOM is in Fulton County. And at this point, we can still operate that way because that's only a 50-bed facility. Our census is 45 as of today. So at least at this point, if we necessary, I'm going to set them up so that we can function independently in the meantime if we have to. Because the same systems they use there, we would use here as well. So if it comes down to it, in the meantime, as far as any sort of mentioned overlap, we can function if we have to. But still seeking out the services through RFP for a contracted billing and collection service, accounting service, what have you, would still, I think, be a benefit and something we should, in my opinion, still look to do. So, but again, in the meantime, as far as any potential overlap, I believe we can have what we need in the meantime. So all the bases could be covered in this way. And if you're, as far as, the use of a management company as a whole for all the services that after provided. Again, like I said, the biggest function being for billing and collections, I feel is the biggest need as far as finding a potential, even a potential new firm for that purpose, and then leave it at that. And then function with private consultants for the facility management staff or for the facility as a whole as needed. So this was, again, as I discussed with my committee chair and county administrator as to the potential for this and the timeline for this. Again, this was just last Thursday that, as those of you that were there, heard from the CFO, Mike Filippo from TCM, looking at a potential 30-day time frame, as I understood it, going into approximately January 13th, as to if this is not remedied, this would be their final day of providing services to the Stephenson Nursing Center. And just looking at that potential eventuality, then I would take measures to make sure that we have what we need in the meantime. And then also looking towards now submitting for RFP for this particular service. We would have that in the long run too.
Do you know when the billing cycle is typically completed?
So as I told my committee chair and the county administrator, by the 10th of each month. So thinking about that, we've already done billing now for November. And so going into January would be for December billing. So if they don't, assuming they still want to, they're still going to fulfill their end of the agreement up and through the 13th, so they should be able to assist us for that. In the meantime, seeking out potential, new services if that's what the county chooses to do, and then going into February for January's billing, either way through a new billing and collection service firm or through just our processes internally that I would make sure we had into place. We'd have either to work with going into February as well for January billing. So we can make it through. We can.
How's the matrix training going with Jennifer?
How's what? I'm sorry.
How is the matrix training going with Jennifer?
That's continuing. She is still, that's still, of course, independent from TCM. That's still available to us, and she's still participating in. As far as any of that, we still pay for that particular service. So she's continuing to, build up her knowledge as far as matrix care in this case. But like I said, my intention is to equip her with what she needs to operate. Because at this point, she's not set up fully to do billing and collections herself independently.
Yep.
But considering the nature of the situation as it is right now, we're gonna expedite that. Just again, if need be, just to make sure she has what she needs in the meantime.
Well, I will comment on that because I had a good long conversation with her one day about 3 months ago to that effect. And that's the time I was very upset to find out that TCM wasn't instigating the readily available training with Matrix for her and Jeannie and anybody else out there that would be involved potentially in the billing process. And so we got that started thanks to Nicole's efforts and working with Matrix. And I asked her specifically what would it take, to put you in a position you're comfortable. And she said, well, if I can get comfortable with Matrix and maybe another year of support. But we really, once that's done, we should be fine. So again, I'm just trying to fill you in on the conversation in that respect from what I had with her. Now, I haven't talked to her since then, so I don't know how she feels about it.
Even like I said, though, from everything I've seen at this point, even at this point, she's not equipped to function independently at this point.
Right.
Which is why I'm still recommending to the committee that and to the county that we pursue this RFP for this particular service.
Yep.
Not the management company as a whole, but at least for this particular billing and collection service, which there are companies out there that would do that.
Mm-hmm.
They would provide that service. But again, as I said, either way, given the nature of the situation, I still intend to equip her with what she needs that every facility, anywhere throughout the entire state would have to be able to function. Because we have to have it. We have to have coverage as we move from potentially one provider to another.
And I'll make one other comment on that. In the process of going through that discussion with Matrix and getting that initiated, I was made aware of a service that they have that's tied to their company. That's kind of a sister operation that they have that does billing. So I did give that information to Georgia, so that would be available for the RFP. Danny, do you guys have any questions on that? Do you have any information you want to share on the RFP itself?
I just have one little correction that I found after the fact, after it went out, that I had listed 6:30 as the start time for the finance committee meeting, and it would be 6 o'clock. I think it's on the second page on the last page.
So how does that work? We publish that on our website or?
Published on the website. We also have to run it in the newspaper for 5 consecutive days. And then, I know there's some professional postings that. I'm
Oh,
sure-
sure,
Yeah.
as far as publicizing.
Yeah, that Marcos would be aware of and we get the word out. We also, have entered into that contract with Demand Star, which is a nationwide.
And all of those, any entity that wants to propose billing services to our county, then will go to the nursing center committee next month.
No, they would have to submit a sealed bid.
Okay,
And that would be on January 13th. So we're just
Okay.
a few days short of the 30 days, but that was as close as we could get. I mean, it's
Right.
pretty close. Marcos also felt that most of these companies would be able to provide something, that's what they do. He said they should have a very short turnaround time
Right.
to provide information. The public, those bids would be due at 9 a.m. At 11 a.m. I would hold the public opening with Mr. Prez. And then on that evening at the finance committee would be
we would make a
when the
decision.
committee would make a decision and the bidders would be invited to come and speak.
Yes, sir.
So my question would be the 350,000,
Mhm.
where does that get taken care of?
Well, it's
I mean, if they're not your
The-
company, you gotta pay them.
the nurse, that's still gonna be in the AP. Right now, I believe, again, this is just my educated guess, that they will likely file suit to get paid, and then there will be a process that goes through that somebody will have to analyze these bills. Again, I would dispute one of them, so sure. They're claiming that they were profitable in the year of 2023 to the tune of 6% of the gross profit that they supposedly brought in. Problem with that is it's all been done on an accrual basis. And as the finance director stated, there was no cutoff point, there was no firm, most of their P&L statements have all been, this is an estimate only, but yet they were hanging their hats on those for that bonus. And so, I don't know how all that's gonna play out, Steve. I don't think me personally, I don't think we owe them that much. But even if we do, at some point we'll pay that. It'll come out of the nursing center funds or what have you, be part of their AP process, and hopefully we can start actually collecting enough money of what we bill to pay all our bills. That would be my hope.
You're hoping that a new management company is gonna make that happen.
Well, we'll see. There's other ones that do it better. From what I've heard in talking with different people, again, there's a lot of ways of doing this. Like Marco said, a lot of them handle it themselves too.
So that makes our total somewhere around 1.2 million?
No, the 900,000 includes TCM's 300.
What does?
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Yep. But again, that's been my point. The AR currently stands at 1.15 million. And I'll pass around this report. I brought this. And if you look at this, every time I've asked about this, like there's since previous to October of 2023, okay? There are lines on here that say negative 106,902. And I asked, well, what is that? That's the one where I got, oh, well, that's not accurate. Just don't worry about that. The rest of it is. Okay, but there's a whole bunch more on here to the tune. I mean, right now, from October or previous to 2023, there's a number 296,486. And again, I believe that's higher, but we've never been able to get straight answers on this. And so I don't know how you run a business. I'll pass this along to you guys. It's available to everybody. But you just look at the numbers that are there. AR of 1.15 million that they're publishing, and AP of 948,000. If we even get 95% of our funds in, we got money to pay all those bills. That's been the issue the whole time. I don't know, Mr. Chairman, if you want to comment on that as well.
Well, I guess, I believe everybody at this table agrees that the nursing home, except for the levy, we'd want to be self-funded, stand on their own to make pay the bills that they have. My concern has always been that even though TCM is billing, collecting, we're not cash flowing. TCM is getting paid every month. every single month, they are getting a payment.
Mhm.
They're not being excluded, but if you can't cash flow, what do you pay first? Food service, therapy, TCM, salaries. Unfortunately, my concern is, they're not collecting what they're billing. So, and I was going to ask Marcos, how realistic is it, in your opinion, having a new billing company that they will actually be able to collect what they bill? And significant, more than just 30%.
Well, I mean, again, just from everything that I've been witness to so far and the questions that Mr. Willett has asked to Mike Filippo, the CFO as well. I mean, we're talking about accounts receivable amounts going back some time. And I know, I've heard a lot of questions related to how far back are we going to be able to actually collect it. Now, to be specific, I'm not asking for the services of a new management company. I'm just asking simply for RFPs for a billing and collections service. They'll be able to focus just in those areas. And so in answer to your questions, Mr. Chairman, I guess I would find it questionable as far as going back that far. I guess my expectation for a management company, in this case, as they were when they first came on board, was that they would have taken a comprehensive look at all of the receivables, looking at every single resident that ever lived in the building and what we still showed to have needed to be claimed or to be collected on. And given my hope was that, had I been involved at that time, was that the nursing center committee or the county would have been able to give a comprehensive understanding as to, okay, this is how far back we're looking at this point. This is how much we're recommending that we need to maybe write off, or that we are still looking at, being able to collect as a whole with these individual accounts, by payer source or what have you. So, long story short, I think that there's still some potential there, but going back that far, I find that question.
Thank you. Any other?
Didn't you say that most of the billing should be received like 30 to 60?
Pretty much every other outfit I've talked to throughout the state in my own time has stated within 30 to 60 days, if the billing is done correctly, if that patient's identified properly, if the third-party insurance carrier that the state's using for them is identified properly, if Medicare is billed properly, if all of those procedures are properly followed, no issues. I had at least, I would say 80% of the people I talked to were getting paid at a 98% clip within 30 to 60 days.
Well, and billings, and I mean, we have, at this point, we're dealing primarily with those individuals that have Medicaid for long-term stays,
right,
and Medicare for short-term stays. That's the vast majority of what we have. And that's the vast majority of what we will ever have. And so billing for Medicare and Medicaid is done on a monthly cycle. And we have a triple check system where we review all the data that's submitted for just every financial submission and making sure that we're on the same page with all of that, and then we bill appropriately. And so, yeah, that is how that works.
And much to Mr. Helm's comment, I don't understand, and I've never been able to get a good answer as to why. Why isn't that money coming in? Because it just doesn't show up. So if it's actually billed, it's somewhere. Anyway, so I'll leave it at that.
That's
right.
Yeah, they're wanting to get paid, yet they're not collecting what they're billing so that we can pay them.
And now
they're not the only vendor.
And now they're charging us interest.
Collect what you bill.
To me is
get paid.
That's a whole.
Can I ask one question quick?
Yes, please.
Are we going to expect the new billing company to go back and try and get this $1 million? Or do we need to hire somebody else to do that?
I think that'll, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Chairman, but I believe that will be part of the negotiated process.
Okay.
I think most of them will offer to look at our revenue that's out there already and see if there's ways that they can help bring it in. But again, it's stuff that TCM did. I don't know if they'll have access as much to it as what they need. I don't know. That's a good question. Hopefully we can recuperate some of it.
They will have access to everything that's in our electronic health record system. I did confirm that piece of it, at least, since I've been working with TCM. Everything that's been processed, all the charges have been put into that system. So whoever would assist would have full access to that system.
I just wonder if it was a specialty company that would, for going back.
Yeah.
Well, that would be the nature of what they do, and I would expect, if I'm speaking for myself, I would expect that they would do, as I just said, that I would have hoped TCM would have done, is to do a comprehensive look at all of the aging.
and make a determination for the county's sake as far as what's collectible and what's not.
Thanks.
Go ahead,
So
Mr.
you said 30 to 60 days is normal with a 98%. But where's TCM at? Are they, obviously they're way lower on the 98%.
Well, they tried to
And they're
claim
longer, they're longer on the time frame, right?
Yeah, it's, they're
know.
probably about 70-some%,
70% and
give or take.
probably
Yes.
over 90, over, some of it's like 6 months or longer, right?
Well, yeah, you got the sheet,
Yeah,
so.
so, okay.
Again, it's any business, right? You're gonna build revenue. Some customers are gonna pay you within that 30-day time frame. Some are gonna pay you a little bit longer than that. You know, I've got customers that pay us in 60 days. Some may take it to 90 now, and stretch their dollars, but that's pretty much the worst case, is that you're dealing with an automotive company nowadays, and they're trying to push it out to 120 or 6 months or some crazy thing.
But I think it makes sense to go out and see what's out there. If we
Yeah.
can find somebody
Right.
better.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Anyway, I think it's time for sure.
Question.
Yes.
Yes, I agree. But one thing I want to check on is page 6 in communications, paragraph number 2, communications. I just want to know, I've heard people talk about how, I've heard the comment, I wish so-and-so was here at the meeting, or so-and-so, they weren't. And so less was done than what should have done. So is the phrase proposer shall be responsible for periodic progress reports, is that strong enough?
That's a good question.
We can make it more specific. I mean, as it was, for what, since I've been on board, TCM would bring, the CFO from their organization to provide a monthly financial report. We can always adjust that to whatever the county feels is appropriate.
It does say at least once per month, so. I mean,
And Brian, this is an RFP, right? It's not.
That's true.
So I guarantee you, as sure as I am alive and sitting here, we will have a better contract with this organization than we did with TCM. So I will not sleep until I know that that's the case.
And I think I already know the answer to this question. Before TCM, there was another building company. Thank you, couldn't think of the name. And they were, billed as maybe not experts, but good in their field, which only with time we realized that was the case. Are you completely comfortable with your notion that you would be able to sort the grain from the chaff and it's the best to the top?
I do feel that way, but more, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but as I understood it, the billing company, that particular billing company didn't specialize in long-term care billing. So with any conversation that the county would have with any new service, that would be specifically stipulated as far as their knowledge of long-term care billing for a skilled nursing facility. Just make sure that was in place. So, yeah. Thank you.
Caliber, a medical therapy,
Yeah.
not specialized in long-term skilled care.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Real quick, if I can.
Yes, sir.
I feel we've learned from those lessons. The last billing company prior to TCM was just brought forward by the previous oversight committee chair and the county board chairman. There was no RFP done. It was done in a hurry. We didn't have what I would consider at least as seasoned of an administrator as we have now. We've learned from the lessons, right? So we can make a better decision now. I believe we're in a better space than we were previously.
100%.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Committee chair reports, finance, I think we kind of worked that enough. Don't really have anything else to add to what we talked about. Administration.
I'm trying to find my notes. I think it was a pretty quiet month. I think Nate was talking about there's more things submitted for the circuit clerk, and if and when they receive those, then it's gonna be busy. And we talked about the revised internet, and then county clerk talked about the election and it went smooth, went very smooth, and then they had what that was
Discovery
called.
recount.
Discovery recount. I was gonna say recount, but I didn't know what that. And that came out okay. It was like 1-1, and so it's even. Nobody challenged it. And we talked about a caucus. Yeah, pretty well. So, other than that, it was pretty quiet. So,
Good deal. You even want to say anything else?
So thank you, Marcos, for coming.
Yes, thank you.
Side note, out of the financing stuff, so I wanted to let the department heads actually submit reports. So starting in January, Marcos and I are going to get with each department head. So you're gonna see a calendar for the activity director. She's gonna be submitting one monthly. That's gonna go with the agenda, same with department of nursing and the other department heads. So they will have their own little clips of their monthly reports that are gonna be. Marcos will probably still be the main spokesperson, but at least each department head will have a voice and to be able to report more information into our committee. So we're gonna be working on that. That's coming in January. And other than that, you heard enough.
All right.
Quick question before, is that map amendment coming to the board or are we just holding it back from planning and development? Okay. So that was really all from planning and development. We have Nicole and I couldn't be at the meeting, so apologize for that, but
Yeah.
we do have a map amendment for zoning coming to the board to deal with changing the zoning at the visitor center that's been sold from B1 or from A1 to B3 so that new businesses coming in there can be legal within the zoning. And that's really all I have.
Thank you, sir. Brent?
Very quiet at the highway department. The boys finished up mowing the roads and, getting some salt prepared for winter. For that dread word, what is it? Snow? I hate that word. Anyway, other than that, they're already working on springtime, construction project lettings and, things are going well.
Thank you. Before I move on, I will officially welcome Mr. Diddens to the committee.
Thank you.
And Mr. Bush in the new role. So it's thankful to have both of you guys here. Mr. Bush, you're up next. I believe you are.
Like everybody else, things were pretty quiet. Mr. Thompson gave a report of him receiving a grant for emergency readiness, anything that comes up. The sheriff did report the update on the upkeeping of the courthouse building. Other than that, that's it.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Giddens? Yeah, we just give everybody a chance to at least inform the other committee chairs.
For purposes, the meeting was good, pretty eventful. We did have one action item. We passed a resolution to the full board for $21,000 for an appellate prosecutor, an annual fee that's based off of the county's population. Other than that, it sounds like everything's going pretty good at the courthouse. They did, I don't remember what was mentioned, but there's a couple of comments about how the courthouse renovations are going well and looking good. So,
They're pretty good. Pretty good.
I got a chair. I mean,
I still remember walking in there the first time after leaving the board in 2006, thinking I was like back in, back in time. So I'm like, hey, wait a minute, what's going on?
Back in the second.
Mr. Chairman, anything else you want to add?
Seeing everyone on Thursday.
Okay. Public comment
No.
or opportunity? Okay. All right.
hey, so move.
Mr. Bush, anybody else? Second? All right, I got a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Have fun at your next meeting. Get you out of here in time.
Yeah.